I'm coming to you from under a bridge with my Nikon Coolpix A. This camera shares the sensor with the Nikon D7000 in this tiny little body. It's an APS-C sized sensor with 16 megapixels. It has a fixed 18.5mm f2.8 lens, which is equivalent to 28mm in full frame terms. The lens is incredibly sharp, probably one of the sharpest lenses I have ever seen on any camera. On top there's the mode dial. We have the usual PASM, some custom modes, a scene mode, an automatic mode, and that's all. You turn the camera on and off with this lever. It has two dials, one on the top and one on the rear. The rear one controls the aperture and the top one controls the shutter speed. I keep my cameras on aperture priority because that's the fastest way for me to shoot. So the top dial changes the aperture. One issue is the rear LCD, which isn't very bright. So in harsh sunlight you might have some issues seeing the LCD. I have set the autofocus to FN1 button so I can use it like a back button autofocus. So I press this button to use the autofocus. The autofocus on this camera is quite slow, and that's one of the problems I have with this camera. If you have ever used a Nikon DSLR, you will be very familiar with the interface on the camera and the settings. Changing the settings is made really easy. For example, if you want to change the exposure compensation, you just hold the button on the top left and use the top dial. For ISO, my camera is set to auto ISO, so this button only changes the minimum ISO. If I want to leave auto ISO, I have to go into the menus and find the setting from here. This camera has a movie mode, but it's quite hard to find it. You have to press the I button and go to release mode. Scroll all the way down and there's movie recording. I have two of these cameras and both of them are suffering from sensor dust. If I stop the lens down to f8, for example, you can start seeing the dust spot. My other Coolpix A has this problem even worse, so I can't really shoot with that camera at all. This one I can shoot down to f5.6 without the dust bothering me. If I stop the lens all the way down to f22, you can see what I'm talking about. What I think is causing the sensor dust issue is the retractable lens design. When you turn the camera off, the lens sucks all the dust inside. This camera also has this weird bump on the bottom. I have no idea what has caused this to happen. The things I like about the Coolpix A: the body is incredibly well built and feels really solid in hand. The ability to do back button autofocusing with this front button is incredible. I like that. So I was shooting this camera on the street with zone focusing. So basically what I did was I set my aperture to something small like 5.6 or 8. Then I focused to like 3 meters or something like this. And now my shutter button doesn't do the focusing, so I can just go around shooting and I have good sharpness from 3 meters to almost infinity. The problem is when you turn the camera off, the camera forgets the distance you have focused on. You have the AF macro and mono focus selector on the left side. So let's say I focus on this rock. Now I set my autofocus to manual focus. and you can see the distance there that it's focused on. Now if I turn the camera off and back on, it completely forgets the distance. This is something the Ricoh cameras do well. They always remember your settings. So basically, if this camera didn't have the sensor dust issue, or if it was easily cleanable, this camera would probably be my all-time favorite. It's everything I want from a compact camera. A nice build quality, good battery life, nice sensor, nice lens with good 2.8 aperture. I don't mind the fact that it's a fixed lens. I like the 28mm focal length a lot. So this was my video on the Coolpix A, and to the end I will put some picture samples. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.